Lina Santos, a young Filipina domestic worker, and three powerful UAE tycoons appeared to share nothing but a professional household. But behind the villa's grand walls, secret desires, rivalries, and hidden ambitions collided, leading to betrayal, manipulation, and a shocking murder caught on camera. Lina Santos arrived in the United Arab Emirates full of hope, carrying little more than a suitcase, a passport, and the dream of providing a better life for her family. Coming from a small town in the Philippines, she had spent months preparing for this opportunity, imagining the day she would finally leave behind the hardships of her home village. The villa she entered on her first day was breathtaking, a world she had never seen before. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and the polished surfaces reflected the elegance of wealth that felt almost unreal to her. Servants moved with quiet efficiency, attending to every corner of the sprawling home, while the distant hum of luxury cars echoed outside. Cameras perched on the walls, unnoticed at first, captured every movement, recording the rhythm of life in the household with a silent omnipresence. At first, Lina's role was straightforward. She cleaned, organized, and assisted in daily routines, attending to the needs of the three wealthy men who owned the villa. Each of them held immense power, their names known in business circles and whispered in social gatherings of the elite. Security cameras often caught Lina moving through hallways carrying trays of drinks, adjusting furniture for meetings, and preparing meals with precise attention. She learned the patterns of the house quickly, which doors led to private quarters, which corridors were frequently monitored, and how to navigate without drawing attention. With each passing day, her understanding of the villa's routines grew, and with it, a subtle awareness of the hidden world around her. The tycoons were men of influence, accustomed to control and luxury, yet behind the polished surfaces, their interactions were complicated and sometimes tense. Lina began to notice small details, the way one of them would linger in a room longer than necessary, the anxious glance exchanged between two men in private, and the quiet intensity that filled certain parts of the house late at night. The CCTV cameras recorded it all, though no one would later imagine that these silent witnesses were capturing the early threads of a story that would turn deadly. Over time, Lina's presence extended beyond her professional duties. She was seen in private gatherings, photographed in rooms that were off-limits to most staff, and included in moments that blurred the line between servant and confidant. Each step she took was recorded, from her cautious glances around corners to the measured way she carried herself in the villa's vast interior. She began to feel both excitement and fear, realizing that her proximity to wealth and influence came with invisible rules and unspoken expectations. As the days turned into weeks, Lina's life in the UAE became a careful balance of diligence and discretion. She navigated the villa's complex hierarchy with skill, aware that even a small misstep could have serious consequences. The surveillance cameras captured her movements with unblinking precision, documenting every step she took through the luxurious environment. While the outside world saw only a young woman working hard to support her family, the villa itself held secrets that were far more dangerous. Unseen by Lina, the men watched, plans and rivalries quietly shaping events, while the cameras silently recorded the unfolding drama. It was a life of opportunity shadowed by risk, where every careful action would later become a piece of the puzzle, leading to betrayal, suspense, and tragedy. As Lina Santos settled into her life in the villa, the relationships with the three tycoons grew increasingly complicated. At first, the attention she received seemed harmless: compliments on her work, small gifts, invitations to join in gatherings that were technically off-limits. Cameras in the corridors recorded her moving discreetly through the lavish rooms, occasionally pausing outside offices or private lounges as if sensing the tension inside. She became aware of the delicate balance she had to maintain, knowing that a single misstep could draw scrutiny. Each tycoon had his own way of asserting influence. One offered luxury gifts, another extended subtle promises of protection, and the third wielded his presence as a quiet pressure, monitoring every move she made. The villa itself became a stage for unspoken rivalries. Surveillance footage captured tense moments between the men when Lina was nearby, subtle exchanges of glances and body language that suggested competition and jealousy. She often found herself caught in the middle, a silent participant in a power struggle she did not fully understand. Security logs showed her frequent movement near high-value areas, safes, offices, and private quarters. Though she carried out her duties professionally, the timing of her presence coincided with incidents that later raised questions. Documents temporarily missing, small amounts of valuable items unaccounted for, and the occasional unexplained access to rooms that were off-limits to staff. The stress of navigating these dynamics began to take its toll. CCTV cameras captured Lena's hesitations as she paused in hallways, her eyes scanning the surroundings before entering a room. The subtle tension in her posture suggested she was aware of being watched, not only by the villa's surveillance but also by the men themselves. She became cautious about where she went and when, learning to read patterns of behavior and anticipate moments of conflict. Even small actions, adjusting a chair, carrying a tray, delivering a message, required calculated precision. The luxury that had initially seemed so inviting now carried an undercurrent of danger, a reminder that wealth and influence could be as threatening as they were alluring. Meanwhile, the Tycoons' rivalry escalated. Surveillance footage recorded moments of private discussion, where one man would glance sharply at the other, tension visible even without sound. Lena's presence in these moments was sometimes incidental, sometimes encouraged, creating opportunities for her to become involved, knowingly or unknowingly, in sensitive situations. She began to realize that her position was precarious, a delicate thread connecting competing powers that could snap at any moment. The cameras, silent and impartial, recorded every step, creating a permanent record of a life lived under constant scrutiny. The villa, once a symbol of opportunity and hope, became a place of unease and subtle manipulation. Lena's movements, carefully choreographed to avoid suspicion, were caught on film as she navigated long corridors, avoided the gaze of certain men, and carried out her work in the vast, quiet spaces of the estate. Security logs, timestamps, and surveillance would later reveal that she had been present at pivotal moments leading up to events that seemed accidental at the time but were, in hindsight, the beginnings of a tragic chain reaction. While she continued her work diligently, every camera angle, every recorded interaction, and every step through the villa quietly documented the complex web of desire, rivalry, and tension that would eventually culminate in murder. The night that changed everything began quietly, with rain pattering against the villa's large windows and the hum of air conditioning filling the empty corridors. Lena Santos moved carefully through the halls, carrying a small, nondescript package in her hands. Surveillance cameras recorded her every step, capturing the subtle tension in her posture. She paused frequently, scanning doorways and corners as though weighing each decision before proceeding. The villa, usually a place of opulence and order, felt oppressive that night, each shadow and reflection amplified under the dim corridor lighting. Minutes later, one of the Tycoons entered the same hallway from a different direction. CCTV footage showed him walking briskly toward a private suite, seemingly unaware of Lena's presence. The two paths converged at the door to the Tycoon's personal quarters. Lena hesitated, placing the package down momentarily before proceeding. The cameras, positioned discreetly above the hallways, captured her movements in sequence, documenting each pause, glance, and careful step. The footage was silent, yet every frame conveyed the intensity of the moment, the unseen stakes, and the invisible tension that hung in the air. Inside the suite, the Tycoon settled into his chair, unaware of what was about to unfold. Lena, moving with calculated caution, handled the package as she had been instructed in previous nights, her actions precise yet hesitant. Outside, the storm intensified, lightning illuminating the hallways for brief, stark moments, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch through the villa's grand spaces. Surveillance captured fleeting reflections on polished floors and mirrors, documenting every motion without interpretation, yet revealing the underlying gravity of the night's events. Suddenly, the Tycoon collapsed, the monitors in the suite flashing urgent alarms that pierced the quiet of the villa. Staff rushed to the scene, alerted by automated notifications, but the footage showed that the critical moments had already passed. Despite immediate medical intervention, the man could not be stabilized. Initially, The death was treated as a sudden medical emergency, a heart failure in a man under stress. Yet the timing of events and the presence of the package in Lena's hands drew scrutiny. A forensic investigation later revealed a rare sedative in the Tycoon system, the exact substance that had been secured in the package. While the CCTV cameras did not capture the administration of the sedative directly, the timeline of Lena's movements and the evidence found in the room suggested a chilling connection. Every step she had taken that night, recorded silently by multiple angles, became a crucial piece of the investigation. The surveillance footage documented her cautious handling of the package, her careful navigation through hallways, and her entrance and exit from the private quarters, all without a word spoken. By the next morning, the villa was in chaos. Security teams reviewed hours of footage, piecing together the sequence of events. What had begun as a routine night of work for Lena had become the center of a criminal investigation. The cameras, which had silently observed her movements all along, now provided investigators with a clear, chronological record of the night, capturing tension, hesitation, and the calculated steps that preceded a sudden and fatal tragedy. The opulent villa, once a symbol of luxury and opportunity, had transformed into the scene of a deadly event, with every recorded frame serving as evidence in a mystery that would shock the public and unravel hidden rivalries among the elite. As the investigation unfolded, the layers of complexity surrounding Lena Santos and the three Tycoons became increasingly apparent. CCTV footage, security logs, and digital records were painstakingly analyzed, revealing a tangled web of power, influence, and manipulation. Investigators noticed that Lena's movements throughout the villa were far from random. She had been present at moments when critical documents went missing and when valuables disappeared from locked safes. Yet the digital access records indicated that one of the Tycoons had remotely overridden security protocols. This raised immediate questions. Had Lena been coerced, manipulated, or set up to appear suspicious while the real orchestrator operated unseen? The surveillance footage captured subtle signs of tension between the Tycoons themselves. Moments that had seemed minor at first, furtive glances, tight jawlines, quick gestures, now took on new significance. One man would pause near a doorway as if checking who was present. Another would return to a room multiple times to ensure no one had noticed something important. Lena's presence in these scenes became increasingly complicated. She was often caught on camera lingering near offices or safes, but her body language suggested hesitation, a careful weighing of each action. Investigators theorized that she may have been trying to navigate the conflicting demands of three powerful men, aware that any misstep could be disastrous. Further analysis revealed that the rivalries among the Tycoons were not limited to property or wealth. Their competition extended to control over the household and, more subtly, over Lena herself. Each man sought influence, seeking to ensure she remained loyal, compliant, and dependent. Footage of private meetings in the villa's grand halls, captured by overlooked cameras, revealed tense negotiations and silent warnings. Lena moved through these moments cautiously, carrying trays, delivering documents, or adjusting furniture, all while under constant observation. Even her smallest actions were scrutinized, creating an invisible pressure that only heightened the stakes. The villa's corridors, once symbols of comfort and luxury, now appeared in the footage as pathways of tension and hidden intent. Investigators noticed repeated patterns. Lena's careful pauses before entering rooms, the way she would glance over her shoulder, the measured way she navigated spaces where the Tycoon's presence overlapped. Security logs confirmed her access to areas at unusual times, but when cross-referenced with the Tycoon's own override codes, the picture grew murkier. Was she acting independently, or had she been subtly manipulated into situations designed to implicate her? Media attention intensified as the story became public. Headlines described a shocking scandal involving a domestic worker caught in the midst of wealth, power, and intrigue. The villa itself, once a symbol of opulence, became a focus of curiosity and suspicion. Investigators continued to study the footage frame by frame, identifying moments that, at first glance, seemed mundane but, in context, revealed the dangerous interplay of secrecy and rivalry. Each day brought new revelations. Subtle hand gestures, careful movements, and calculated timing that suggested a complex orchestration of events. Slowly, a narrative emerged. Lina Santos had been caught in the middle of a deadly struggle she neither initiated nor fully understood. The Tycoons' rivalries, combined with her proximity to them and her enforced presence in sensitive areas, created a chain of circumstances that ultimately led to tragedy. The footage, once overlooked as routine surveillance, now told a story of manipulation, hidden motives, and a woman navigating an impossible balance between survival, loyalty, and the invisible forces of power surrounding her. Every recorded frame offered a clue, building the suspense that would eventually reveal the shocking truth. The breakthrough in the investigation came unexpectedly from a camera long ignored in a narrow service corridor, positioned to monitor deliveries and maintenance activities. The footage revealed a moment that had previously been missing from the reconstructed timeline. One of the Tycoons was seen moving deliberately through the corridor, his posture tense yet controlled. In his hands, he held a small vial, carefully concealing it in his coat before heading toward the private quarters where the fatal events had occurred. The camera captured his cautious glances down the hall and over his shoulder, ensuring that no staff were observing. Each movement was precise, deliberate, and intentional, evidence of premeditation that reframed the entire case. This revelation changed the investigators' understanding of the night's events. While Lina Santos had appeared central to the tragedy due to her presence in the suite and her handling of a package, the hidden camera clarified that the Tycoon had orchestrated the situation. Lina's actions, cautious and measured, were now seen as a response to the tense environment and not necessarily as a deliberate act of malice. The surveillance footage, combined with forensic findings of a rare sedative in the Tycoon system, painted a picture of a carefully planned event where Lina had been manipulated, or at the very least placed in the middle of circumstances beyond her control. Cross-referencing the corridor footage with CCTV in the private quarters created a minute-by-minute timeline of the deadly night. It revealed that the Tycoon had coordinated his movements to ensure Lina's presence coincided with the administration of the sedative, making her appear implicated while minimizing his own visibility on camera. Investigators also analyzed access logs, showing that digital overrides had been used to allow specific movement and entry during critical hours. Every piece of evidence aligned with the conclusion that the death had been carefully arranged under the guise of routine villa activity, highlighting the power and control the Tycoon wielded over both the environment and the people within it. The villa, once a symbol of luxury and opportunity, now appeared as a theater of manipulation and danger. CCTV footage documented every step Lina took that night: the cautious carrying of the package, the careful navigation through hallways, and her measured entrance and exit from the private quarters. Every frame, though silent, conveyed the stress and fear she must have felt, caught between compliance and survival, navigating a situation orchestrated by forces far beyond her influence. Security teams pieced together the full sequence, showing a calculated orchestration where timing, positioning, and psychological control converged to produce a fatal outcome. The arrests and legal actions that followed shocked the elite circles of Dubai. The Tycoon responsible was charged with premeditated murder, manipulation, and obstruction. While Lina became a key witness, her testimony crucial in untangling the web of deceit. The case revealed how influence, secrecy, and ambition could create a situation where a domestic worker, despite her diligence and caution, could be drawn into a deadly scenario. The villa's cameras remained as silent witnesses, preserving an unflinching record of the manipulation, tension, and human vulnerability that led to a life lost. In the end, the story served as a chilling reminder that wealth and power, no matter how polished, could conceal the darkest intentions, and that even the smallest actors in these high-stakes worlds could become enmeshed in tragedy beyond their control.